My wife's affair was only the beginning of her secrets. It all started on an ordinary Wednesday evening. My wife, Emily, and I had been married for almost 7 years. Things weren't perfect, but no marriage ever is. We had our share of small arguments, moments of silence, but we worked through them. I never expected anything to shake our world the way it did. I remember it like it was yesterday. I had been working late that evening, finishing up some important projects at the office. Emily was supposed to be home, but when I arrived at our apartment, I noticed something strange. The lights were on, but the place felt off. My heart skipped a beat as I stood outside the door for a few moments, trying to shake off the feeling of dread that was slowly creeping in. When I walked in, Emily wasn't sitting on the couch as usual. The TV was still on, but it wasn't the background noise that had become a comforting part of our routine. I walked into our bedroom, expecting her to be curled up with a book or scrolling through her phone, but instead, I was met with something much worse. Her phone. On the bed, it was unlocked, as it always had been. We had never been secretive about our phones. But when I glanced at the screen, I saw something that made my heart sink. There was a message thread open. A thread between Emily and someone I didn't recognize. It wasn't just any conversation. It was flirtatious, laden with innuendo, and laced with phrases I never thought I'd see coming from Emily. I couldn't believe what I was reading. My mind was spinning. The person she had been texting was a coworker of hers, a man named Ben. I had heard her talk about him before, always mentioning how helpful he was at work, how kind and funny he was. Never once did I think there was more to it. I stared at the screen for a moment, my hands shaking, trying to convince myself that I had misinterpreted it. But there was no denying it. Emily, my wife, was having an affair. A betrayal like this felt like a punch to the gut, leaving me gasping for air, wondering how I had missed the signs. I confronted her that night. When she walked through the door, I could see the hesitation in her eyes. She knew something was wrong. "Emily, we need to talk," I said, my voice steady but full of emotion. Her eyes flickered to the phone on the bed, and for a second, I saw fear in her eyes. She sat down slowly, avoiding my gaze. I don't know what you're talking about," she said, her voice shaky. "I didn't waste any time. You've been texting Ben, and from the looks of it, it's more than just friendly messages." The silence that followed felt suffocating. Her face turned pale, and she looked down at her hands, unable to meet my gaze. I could tell she was trying to come up with an excuse, a justification for what she had done. "I didn't mean for it to happen," she whispered. "It just happened. It was a mistake, a one-time thing." I could feel my heart breaking as she spoke. A mistake? A one-time thing? How could she say that so casually? "Do you love him?" I asked, my voice barely audible. She hesitated, her lips trembling. "No, I love you. I swear, I do. But I don't know what happened. It was just a moment of weakness." I wanted to believe her. I really did. But the trust that had once been the foundation of our marriage was shattered in an instant. I didn't know how to look at her the same way anymore. The woman I thought I knew, the woman I thought I loved, was now a stranger in my eyes. The next few days were a blur. Emily apologized repeatedly, promising that it was a mistake and that she had ended things with Ben. She begged for my forgiveness, saying that she was willing to do whatever it took to make things right. But no matter how much she apologized, no matter how much she begged, I couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. I had never been one to go through my wife's things, but the more I thought about it, the more the doubts crept in. If Emily had lied to me about this, what else had she been hiding? I couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to the story, something deeper than just a simple affair. So, I did something I never thought I would do. I started snooping. I checked her phone, her emails, even her social media accounts. I hated myself for it, but at that moment, I was desperate for answers. What I uncovered shook me to my core. I found more than just messages with Ben. There were exchanges with other men, some dating back years. These weren't just casual conversations. They were intimate, secretive exchanges that went far beyond anything I had ever imagined. There were even moments where she had arranged to meet these men. My heart dropped as I realized how long this had been going on. And then, I found something that broke me entirely. There was a note hidden in one of her email drafts. It wasn't meant to be sent, but it was a letter to someone I didn't recognize. It was full of raw, emotional confessions, telling this person that she loved them, that she regretted the affair with Ben, and that she couldn't stop thinking about them. The realization hit me like a ton of bricks. This wasn't just a one-time affair. It wasn't just a mistake. My wife had been living a double life, betraying me not just with Ben, but with others too. I had been blind to it all, trusting her when I should have been asking questions. I felt like a fool, deceived by the woman I thought I knew so well. The more I uncovered, the angrier I became. How could she do this to me? How could she betray the vows we had made to each other? How could I have been so naive to not see the signs? When I confronted her again, the truth came spilling out. She admitted to everything, every affair, every secret, every lie. She told me that she had been feeling neglected, that she had wanted excitement, something that our marriage no longer provided. She cried as she spoke, but her tears didn't move me. I was beyond angry. I felt betrayed, hurt, and lost. I never wanted to hurt you, she said through her tears. I'm so sorry, I don't know what came over me, but the damage had already been done. The trust was gone, and with it, any chance of saving our marriage. I had been betrayed not once, but multiple times. And no apology could ever erase the pain I was feeling. The next few weeks were filled with emotional turmoil. I stayed in the house, not knowing what to do. I couldn't leave. Part of me still loved Emily, but I didn't know who she was anymore. I didn't know how to look at her without seeing the lies. And yet, there was another part of me that couldn't stop wondering how we had come to this point. How could we have gone from being so in love to this? I wanted revenge. I wanted to make her feel the pain I was feeling, to make her regret her actions. But I didn't want to become someone I wasn't. I wanted to find peace, but it felt impossible. Eventually, I moved out. I needed space. I needed to clear my mind. I filed for divorce and began the long process of rebuilding my life. Emily begged me to reconsider, promising she would do anything to make things right. But the truth was, I didn't know who she was anymore. The woman I had loved and trusted was gone, replaced by someone who had lied, betrayed, and deceived me. Months passed. I tried to move on, to find myself again, but the scars of what had happened lingered. I still had moments of weakness, moments where I wondered if I had made the right choice in leaving her. But then I remembered everything I had uncovered, the lies, the betrayals, the secrets. I had to ask myself, did I ever really know her? Or had I been living in a fantasy, seeing her as the woman I wanted her to be, not the woman she truly was? The more I reflected, the more I realized that I couldn't go back. No matter how much I loved her, I couldn't ignore the truth. I had been living in the dark, and now the light had been shed on everything. The hardest part wasn't losing her. It was losing the person I thought she was, the person I had built my life around. And now, I had to rebuild without her. As I sit here, reflecting on everything, I still wonder if I could ever trust again. If love is supposed to be built on trust, how do you rebuild it once it's been shattered? Should I forgive her? Can people ever truly change?